It was very disappointing. You got to give them credit. You know, they came and did what they do. I really did think that we were prepared for what they did, but man, it was crazy. It just felt like we were like almost 2 steps slow, you know, on everything. Defensively, offensively, like we just waited to react all game, you know, and you can't do that against a team like that. But they beat us every facet, man. I mean, every loose ball, they were the first team to the floor, which is we can never compete if we're not the first team down on that floor. They beat us down the floor after makes, after misses, like every single facet of the game. They beat us. I mean, pounded us though. We weren't playing well, but we had them. We did a pretty good job with them. I thought their second unit came in and played so fast, and they were just kind of all over the place. We were spinning like a top, you know, trying to run back to a matchup as opposed to just run back to a man. And they had a huge quarter, you know, on us to open the game up, and had another huge quarter in the third quarter. So we just couldn't keep up. But it was very disappointing. I didn't think I didn't think one guy on our team played well in the game.
Hey, this is Chris Murray, and you're listening to The Briefcase with Casey Holdahl.
Greetings, Blizzard fans, and welcome to The Briefcase, episode 114 of The Briefcase. I'm your host, Casey Holdahl, and that was Chauncey Billups discussing his team's opening day loss to the Warriors Wednesday night at Moda Center. Blowout loss, close for the first quarter, not close anywhere after that. Trailblazers suffering their worst loss in the season opener Wednesday night versus the Warriors. An unfortunate way to start the 2024-25 season. We'll talk about that game, preview the upcoming consecutive series versus the Pelicans on Friday and Sunday, and hear from Deandre Ayton about the offseason, what he learned during his first year important, the center rotation, being Donovan Clingan's vet, and that mustache on this edition of The Briefcase. Well, as I mentioned, Portland Trailblazers getting their 2024-25 season off to a difficult start versus the Warriors. Lost 139-104 Wednesday night at Moda Center. And game was tied 21-21 after the first quarter. Steph Curry didn't have a great first half. Warriors end up pulling away in the second quarter and then really pull away in the second half to win by 35. And just, you know, particularly after the way preseason went, particularly after how good they looked versus the Jazz in their final preseason game, to come out and really get blown out by the Golden State Warriors, you know, just a disappointing way to start the season. A bit unexpected, I would say, too. I mean, you do have a very good Warriors squad that has re-upped a little bit. I think, you know, we saw in that game that Buddy Hield, particularly at this point in time in his career, a much better player than Klay Thompson, and I think it showed on the court. You know, you have a Warriors team that I imagine was probably coming to get out and wanted to show that, hey, we're still a very good team without Klay Thompson. You still got Steph Curry, who's one of the best to ever do it. And you have a team that is, they know their style of play. They know the way they play. They played fast, and it looked like they just outran the Blazers. I mean, the one of the things that I think was probably the most disappointing for the fans and for the coaching staff, and probably for the players as well, is just that it looked like the Warriors were just so much faster than the Blazers, particularly after that first quarter. And, you know, Chauncey even mentioned it in his post game that it's like, you know, they beat us to every ball, every 50-50, they won, they were the floor first every single time, and we're not the kind of team that has the kind of talent that can win games, if particularly against teams like the Warriors, if we're not the team that's working harder and hustling and running faster, and they weren't on Wednesday night. And again, I think that's, for people, probably more disappointing than just losing, is just the idea that, like, we're a young team. And, you know, we've talked about playing faster. We've talked about not getting beat back in transition during the preseason play. And we get to the first game of the season, and all those things end up happening. And so I think, you know, if you're a fan or a coach or one of the players, like, I think it's more frustrating when you've talked about these things. You seemed like you made a bit of progress on them, at least during the preseason. And then you actually play a game that counts, and none of those things seem to carry over. So that was pretty disappointing for the Trailblazers. Again, you know that the Blazers are going to be up against it a lot this season. It is just one game too, so I think it is really important to not, you know, maybe draw too many conclusions from it. But you at least want to be the team that plays harder. You at least want to be the team that hustles more, particularly when you're a young team. And that was not the case on Wednesday night. And so again, I mean, like from a talent perspective, you get beat because the other team is more talented than you. Okay, it's still not great, but like you understand it. You shouldn't get beat because the other team was out hustling you and the other team was out rebounding you, which they did. And the other team was beating you back in transition, and not even in transition, but just even after makes as well. Like those are the kind of things where it's just hard to feel good about a loss ever. It's especially hard to feel good about a loss, or at least not feel terrible about a loss when one, you lose by 35, and two, you lose in a fashion that would seem to indicate that you weren't trying as hard as your opponent. And that's just something that can't happen for a young team. Like you can't, you can lose because you're not as talented. You can lose because the other team makes more shots. You can lose because you've got injuries. You can't lose because you didn't work as hard as the other team. You just can't. And so, game 1 of 82, hopefully they're able to get some of those things squared away by the time they face the Pelicans this weekend on Friday and Sunday, or just in general, just getting those things squared away within the next couple weeks. Like, again, effort shouldn't be an issue. That's just not where this team should be at, particularly after last season. It's not like these guys don't know each other at this point. I mean, obviously there's new additions with Deni Avdija and Donovan Clingan, but for the most part, this team was together last season. They know how each other plays. They know each other personally and professionally. You got to have better performance than that, and hopefully we'll see something better than that on Friday versus the Pelicans. But just to kind of wrap it up, Jerami Grant, 16 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, a block and a steal in 33 minutes. Deni Avdija not far behind with 15 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and 2 steals in his Trailblazers regular season debut. Anthony Simons, 15 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds. Deandre Ayton, who we're going to hear from here in a minute, double-double of 10 points, 11 rebounds, while also logging 2 assists and 2 steals in 31 minutes. Toumani Camara rounding out these starters with 11 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals in 30 minutes. And we did see the Anthony Simons, Toumani Camara, Deni Avdija, Jerami Grant, Deandre Ayton starting lineup. Looked pretty good in the first quarter. Once they got into that secondary rotation, though, things kind of broke down. And perfectly frank, like, no one played especially well, as Chauncey mentioned at the rip there, that he didn't feel like anyone played especially well. And while I think some guys had fits and starts, again, when you lose by 35, I don't think you can really point to anyone and say, like, yeah, he had a pretty good game. So a little bit of truth-telling there by Chauncey as well, and I think that's probably something you're going to get from Chauncey this year. I think it's, they're to the point now where, like, hey, we've been doing this for long enough. Like, you guys know what it is. Last year was kind of a new team, or at least a changed team, so, we're going to give you a little time to adjust last season, but now it's like it's go time. We just can't have the things that happened in that first game happen all season long, because, again, it's not even about wins. It's just about, like, hey, this is not improved basketball. So that's something they're going to need to get their arms around. Scoot Henderson also came off the bench, 22 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds in 28 minutes. Buddy Hield tying Scoot for top scoring honors, 22 points in just 15 minutes in his Warriors debut. Again, guy coming in and hitting a bunch of shots on you. A guy like Buddy Hield's going to feast this year. I mean, he's, again, you maybe get a little bit of a drop-off defensively from Clay to Buddy, though at this point in time, maybe not so much. But you're getting a better offensive player, I think, right now in Buddy Hield than you had in Klay Thompson. So Warriors, I think, probably some reason to be optimistic for that team this season. And Steph Curry, as always, again, got off to a bit of a slow start. I think he started 1 of 6, but Steph Curry, it's never going to stay that way. Nearly a triple-double for Steph, 17 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds in just 25 minutes. Coming 1 rebound short of a triple-double in 25 minutes is, again, that's, Steph Curry's great. That's the opponent. Like, that is not the level of play that you need to have in an NBA game, particularly your first NBA game of the season. That's a tough one. So hopefully they learned some things. The vibe at practice today, I would say, obviously we don't get to watch practice. We just talked to the team afterwards, talked to Chauncey Billups, Toumani Camara, and Donovan Clingan, and you got the sense that it was probably a pretty difficult practice. Everyone did stress, and I think this is actually an apt point, and I hope people don't take this as like trying to write off the loss, because it's not. But it is one game, and the whole idea of like letting a loss beat you multiple times, you need to get better from losses. I'm sure that watching that film was not fun. I'm sure the coaching staff got into the players quite a bit, particularly about some of the effort and hustle plays that they did not show. But it is one game, and it doesn't do a whole lot of help to beat yourself up over too much. you need to beat yourself over it a little bit, and that is one of the ways you get better is to look to see what you've done and to frankly probably be a bit embarrassed by what you've done. I think that pretty everyone that talked after the game on Wednesday and at practice on Thursday mentioned the word embarrassed at some point in time. So, that is, you're glad to hear that, at least in terms of you want losses to, particularly when they're bad losses, to have some kind of result on the team going forward. You don't want it to linger so much, though, that it keeps you from having success because you're still concerned about things that have already happened. So, it is a balance between, taking the lessons that you learned in a bad loss and applying them to future games while also realizing that it is one of 82 and you got to move on at some point in time. So, I think at practice today, they probably some harsh words. And Chauncey was asked about, kind of the guys on the team and, is there a guy on this team that is going to kind of get into guys a little bit? And he's like, basically, no, we don't have one of those guys, which makes some sense too. Like when you're a young team, it's like there's not, young players can't do that, and Chauncey was saying that, he's hoping that maybe some guys develop into that. But when you're young and particularly when you're new, so guys like Denny, and when you're young, guys like Donovan, like you can't, that's not their place really. You got to kind of work into that. And, I would also say too, I don't know exactly how helpful that is either. I think it's really more important, like during the game, to have guys that are doing those things during practices. Like that is what coaches should be doing that, and it's always helpful to have more support from the players. But I mean, in some respects, coaches are there to be the heavy sometimes, and I'm guessing they were probably a bit heavier today, or at least in Thursday's practice, than they typically have been. So we'll see if that has an effect in Friday's game versus the Pelicans, which is coming up here, 7 o'clock start time on KATU 2.2 and Blazer Vision. Friday night, 7 o'clock, and then Saturday off, and then hosting the Pelicans once again on Sunday at 3 p.m. start time for that one. The Pelicans beat the Bulls 123-111 in their season opener on Wednesday. This is the first road trip for the Pelicans. Kind of an interesting road trip for them. They play the Blazers twice, and then they play the Warriors twice, and then they head back home. So knocking off 4 road games and 2 stops, which, the NBA is trying to reduce some travel, so that makes quite a bit of sense. Not without some issues, though, in that first game for the Pelicans. Lost Dejounte Murray for at least a little bit. Sounds like he has suffered a fracture in one of his hands, so he's going to be out at least for a couple weeks. I imagine maybe a month, maybe extended. I don't know exactly what the nature of that injury is, but he's definitely not going to be available for either the games on Friday or Sunday versus the Trailblazers. It does sound like Zion Williamson, who did not play in their opener versus the Chicago Bulls, will be available at least for the game on Friday. Not entirely sure how they're dealing with him in terms of bringing him back into play, but he's at least be available for one of those games, if not both of those games, and that's obviously something you're going to need to address for the Portland Trailblazers. I'm guessing same injury report for the Trailblazers in the game on Friday versus the Pelicans as they had on Wednesday versus the Warriors. No Shaedon Sharpe, no Matisse Thybulle, no Robert Williams. Chauncey Billups said explicitly today that Robert Williams would not play in the game on Friday. I'm guessing probably we're looking sometime maybe next week, maybe after the team gets back from this upcoming road trip. It's just a 2-game trip, Sacramento, Los Angeles Clippers. I'm guessing maybe after they get back, maybe that's when we see Rob for the first time, maybe as soon as versus the Clippers. He was on the court today when the media was allowed into the gym, so he at least went through some parts of today's practice. I also don't know exactly too how much they did at practice. Chauncey did mention that, the team had to be cognizant of how much time they were spending on the court because they are starting their season with 5 games and 7 nights. And yes, granted, you should be rested because the season is just starting, but playing 5 games and 7 nights, which typically, the NBA has tried to knock down some of those. Blazers starting their season with that. You're still getting your fitness up. I mean, no one plays a ton in preseason anymore anyways. Anthony Simons only played 1 preseason game. Jeremy Grant played a couple of halves of preseason games, same with Deandre Ayton. So you still have to get your fitness up once the regular season comes around. But either way, it's going to be a better effort, hopefully, you would see from the Portland Trail Blazers, regardless of how much they're running in practice on Thursday. Again, I'm also imagining that Thursday's practice is probably a lot more about reviewing film and really drilling into the things they do not do well versus the Warriors, as opposed to playing a lot of 5-on-5 or getting up and down a whole lot. I'm sure there's probably some of that. I believe it was kind of an extended practice. But again, when you're playing as much as the Blazers are, at least for the first week of the season, you just can't go super hard in practice because it's going to have downstream effects in the games as well. So Be interested to see how they come out in that game versus the Pelicans. Once again, no DeJounte Murray. They will have Zion Williamson, though. Our old friend CJ McCollum back in town as well. Yves Missi, I think, is an interesting matchup in the game versus the Pelicans on Friday and Sunday, particularly because of Donovan Clingan, a matchup of two young bigs. Dan Tice is getting the start right now for the Pelicans at center. I would imagine that Missi probably at some point in time does end up getting that starting lineup. You heard some good things about the way he was playing in preseason. He came out, had a really good game versus the Bulls. So I would imagine that he's going to play quite a few minutes, and I think that'll be a good matchup for Donovan Clingan. I think the opportunity to match up your young big against another young big and kind of see where they're at in each other's maturation, I think is something to watch out for in that game. So I'll be on the lookout for that. Should be an interesting one. And again, Blazers play then on Sunday, 3 o'clock start time for that game, which is a first of a back-to-back. Blazers play Sunday, 3 o'clock versus the Pelicans, get on a plane after the game, head to Sacramento to face the Kings on Monday, them facing the LA Clippers at Intuit Dome on Wednesday, which it sounds like they had good success with that wall of fans thing that they were doing there versus the Suns. So it's nice to see an arena, do something that's explicitly for, like, we want to make this tough for the team we're going to play against. So we're gonna expend some resources to do that. So that'll be an interesting game as well. I'm looking forward to that one down in Los Angeles. Real quick, in your betting on the Blazers segment, not a whole lot to talk about since we're only one game into the season, but as I'm sure you can imagine, Trailblazers did not come close to covering versus the Warriors on Wednesday night. They were 7.5-point underdogs. I think that was at 6 by the time the game started, at least on DraftKings, at least the Oregon version of DraftKings. I usually use covers for my kind of overall betting lines, and then check DraftKings when covers doesn't have stuff ready yet. And so the Blazers 7.5-point dogs or 6-point dogs, depending on when you got it, versus the Warriors on Wednesday, and losing by 35. So obviously did not cover in that game. After covering in all 3 of their preseason games versus NBA opponents. So if you took the Blazers -6 or -7.5, or excuse me, plus either one of those, not much of a sweat on that one, unfortunately, for your folks out there that laid that bet. Blazers have opened up as 5.5-point underdogs versus the Pelicans on Friday on DraftKings. They're not posted on covers just yet, but as of right now, early opening line, 5.5-point dogs for the Portland Trail Blazers for Friday's game versus the Pelicans. Also, this is where we're going to keep tally about the Trailblazers half-court shooting drought right now. Not the Trailblazers players, Trailblazers fans at the game. Shout out to Todd Bosma. I've been talking about this for a while now. The Game Up folks actually did the research to find out that it's been 94 straight consecutive misses for half-court shots. The Toyota Halfcourt Shot right now, I think those consecutive misses might even predate the Toyota Halfcourt Shot. Actually, no, that can't be true, because I remember people have won Toyotas. I've been in the gym when people have won a Toyota at the half-court shot. So it's always been the Toyota half-court shot, at least through these 94 consecutive misses. The fellow that shot on Wednesday night, actually, it was as close as those shots typically come without going in. So shout out to that young man. I don't recall your name. I should have written it down. But you had a good attempt at it. He shot overhand too. I've been telling people to go underhand, but this fellow must have had some ball experience, because he got a pretty good look at it. I think it went back iron, which, you got to get a little bit lucky on those shots regardless, but didn't get it. So 94 straight misses for the Toyota half-court shot. Hopefully this is the season that drought ends. But if not, we're going to keep following up on it here in the Betting on the Blazers segment, even though it's not a bet thing. But I do figure, at some point in time, that streak has to end. And you would hope it is soon, because 1, I just want to see someone hit a half-court shot, and 2, get a Toyota. They're great cars. I drive a Toyota. It's great. It's nearly 20 years old. It's still running strong. And don't put me out there, 1, because I can't win anyways. And 2, well, I consider myself a pretty good half-court shooter. I have a pretty strong underhand approach to it, honed from my years playing, not playing, I don't know what do you call playing, but honed from my years of being a bowler as a young man. I got a real strong kind of, you got to lock your arm and lock your wrist and try to get some air under the ball, try to get it to the square to get the bounce in. So I have a method to it, and I spent a lot of time before shoot-arounds waiting for the team to come out, particularly on the road, taking half-court shots. So quite a bit of experience there, but I can't win anyways. But I would say take me at my word on this one. If you're a fan that gets selected to do the Toyota half-court shot, and you don't feel real confident in your ability to get the ball all the way there, shooting a regular shot or even kind of a throw, if you're someone that's like doing the football throw, just go underhand. It's you have a much better chance of getting the ball there, and particularly like you want to get some air under it, you want it to kind of drop in too. So 94 straight minutes, Toyota Halfcourt Shot. I hope this is the year that ends. Again, take my advice if you're not a shooter. If you are a shooter, just be as calm as you can and take a good attempt. And man, win one of those Toyotas. We want to give one of those away. All right, as we often do here on the Briefcase, wrapping up today's show with an interview, this one with Deandre Ayton. Talked to Deandre about a week ago prior to, I think, the last preseason game versus the Jazz. About a range of topics, his time playing this offseason with the Bahamas, making changes to his diet and why he did that, what he's learned during his first season with the Trailblazers, hosting team events and taking on, more of a role as a leader in his second season here in Portland, his goals for the season, adding a three-point shot to his offensive game. One of the things that I noticed, one of the reasons I asked him this too, was while he went through an extended workout because he didn't end up playing in that Utah Jazz final preseason game. A lot of it was three-point shooting, and he looked phenomenal taking those shots. I think we saw in preseason he's added that to his game as well. I believe he took one from the corner in the loss to the Warriors and missed it, but it looked pretty good. So I asked him about the three-point shot and kind of why he added that and how that's going. The rotation at center, being Donovan Clingan's vet, what it's like to be a young center in the NBA. I think obviously, DeAndre Ayton being a player who played just one season in Arizona before making the jump to the NBA as a number one pick, knows what it's like to be a young center in the NBA and some of the trials and tribulations that come along with that, which I think makes him a great mentor for Donovan Clingan. So I asked him about that as well, and why he decided to shave off his beard in favor of a mustache, which I kind of pitched to him just as kind of a joke question, but I thought he really took it to an interesting place actually, and had kind of an interesting reason for why he decided to do that. So let's go ahead and hear from DeAndre Ayton about all that stuff I just talked about and a little bit more from a shoot around here last week at the practice facility in Tualatin. Here with DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre, first off, thank you for taking the time. So first off, I guess I would just ask, how did your offseason go, and particularly playing with the Bahamas this offseason? I know a lot of us were watching that. We're rooting for you. So I'm curious how the whole offseason went for you.
I mean, I've been hooping all season. Yeah. All summer, all offseason, and just enjoying the time off with family, but also, basically getting a little bit of the cheat sheet early to get ready for the season. Eating different, just getting my body ready to play consistently throughout the season, and just trying my best to stay healthy. And playing with the overseas team, our international team, the Bahamian national team, was truly a great experience. Playing in the FIBA tournament, and just the physicality and the concept and the environments we were in. That really changed my whole mindset on the approach of the game. That the league doesn't see half the things that go on. Yeah. That they could get away with in the FIBA tournament. The grabbing, the pulling, just extra stuff, and extra tactics on how they try to win. And I loved it. I was all for it, and to where I learned a thing or two, to get away with, where the officials might not catch me on a couple box outs where I can just, step on somebody's shoe or hold their jerseys in the best way possible. And, it's just all fun, trying to compete. And, just those guys aren't, nobody's getting paid to play for their teams. Everything is, just, showing how much pride you have to, play for your country and show your appreciation. And just seeing different players from different countries and seeing most of some of our NBA players, some of the brothers out there, participating just like how I was, just giving back to their country. It was fun, man. And, just experiencing that lifestyle and being humble again, brought us a lot of, I'll say humility in our professional life again.
Absolutely. Why was that important for you? Because, the Bahamas never qualified for the Olympics, and it's going to be a hard road to get there. And you came within points of qualifying for the Olympics for the first time. So, why was that important to you to be a part of that?
I mean, at the end of the day, so many young kids is watching us. Yeah. And, that's a big deal with the young generation and the kids. Just making sure that, we got them. And, the answers that they want to ask are answered by our actions and, giving back and being there for them. And, just wearing the jersey that they could potentially wear as well. Anybody can wear this, and, there's nobody bigger than nobody. Anybody can come out here and represent their country in their own way. And, just be seen and be recognized as well. And, end up having opportunities to be successful in life. And, that's truly important to make sure we finish the job and make sure we are role models on and off this court because, man, whether we think no one's looking, everybody's watching. And, that's just the way you have to, critique life. And, that's what I've been carrying with just trying to be a great person off the court as well. I don't always have to dribble the ball, but, the way I carry myself and, just giving people the time. Because we're so fortunate in this league, there's nothing we can complain about but just give back.
Absolutely. That's great. You mentioned food real fast, too, so I'm curious, kind of what were some of the changes you made there, or why did you make those changes?
Yeah, I had to make those changes because, honestly, Coach, hey, man. Coach Chauncey wants to play faster, and, me, I believe I'm the fastest big man in the league, and I want to be known as the best two-way in this league. A young big that's, just takes both ends of the floor very seriously, and I'm a very sacrificial player that want to have my sacrificial plays beneficial to my team. And, that's just really big to me to always be ready and, have a game plan to approach these games the right way for battle and war, whatever coach wants me to do, whether it's guarding a point guard or guarding the best big or guarding the best player.
And obviously the fuel you put into yourself is important for that.
Very important.
What did you maybe learn as your first year as a Trailblazer or going into the second season? Are you different? Do you feel like you gained some perspective along the way, particularly your first season being here in Portland?
I truly learned the personnel of my teammates. I truly know who they are on and off the court, and it makes it so much easier for me to communicate on the court with them. Knowing their roles and knowing, the ifs and buts and ands and all of that, And truly, I'm just happy they're so transparent with me, man. And, they make it easy for me to communicate and, to fight with them. And, just to be out there and battle. Just make life easy to enhance everything Coach wants, and I could just project it to my team and be that anchor and leader for him. And, it's truly shown in these preseason games as well.
Absolutely. I kind of feel like, too, that was a little bit reflected in you hosting a team event before the season started. And I wanted to ask you about that, too, how that went and kind of how that came together.
It's truly who I am, I'm not, as you see, I'm a guy here who always going to try to make people laugh or, I'm the dude who's always going to break the room. And that's really who I am. I just want them to invite me to my family that, this is no act. This is how I am at the house. And I'm like this with everyone, 24/9. Not even 24/7, but 24/9. No matter who it is, part of this organization, you part of this family, you're going to, feel welcome, and it's just the least thing I can do. You guys made me feel so welcome, dealing with the trade and the transition. From day one, I felt like, Portland was home and, that was just the least. It was long overdue to have the team hang out with me and my family. So there's going to be more of that, with all these big events coming up. The sports life is crazy with the football and, the baseball and soccer and all of that stuff. So women's basketball is just about to finish up and things like that. So, the sports world is fun to just, have a get together in the mix of all of the season and just, break ice. That's how championship teams are built. Getting to know each other and knowing your brother, knowing that this is the dude you're going to be in battle with. And, I want to battle with this dude because he's a great fucking person. You know what I'm saying? He's a great guy, and I want to be with him. I want to be by his side.
That's awesome, man. What are your expectations for this season? And I guess what would you like to see out of the team and from yourself this year?
Well, really, it's a winning season for us. We're not going to be trying to recreate what we did last year. It was a learning experience, and we got our ass kicked, and now it's time to kick some ass. Honestly, we're going to be turning a lot of heads with the way we compete and play. We play hard, and we don't back down from anybody, no matter who comes off that bench or who starts the game. It's all about who finishes this thing, and, we need everybody. Everybody's a piece of this puzzle that needs to be finished. And, Portland Trailblazers we will be the ones to be recognized as the most exciting team to watch, because there's going to be a game every night where, dang, you don't know what to expect from these young dudes, but they're here to play. And trust me, one slip up, you're done. Even with the slip, even if you don't have no slip ups, you're gonna be done. And that's what coaches, instilled in us in training camp, and the way we play so hard and we play for each other. Mistakes are to a minimum. It's not even how it used to be. It's not as loud as it was no more. Us vets has really stepped it up, and our young guys are right there backing everything up as well. So everything's falling in line. The coaches is locked in. The front office is doing a great job. You can just feel how wholesome and united we are. And we just ready for the season, man. We've been trying to catch up with us for real. So we've been waiting. We've been in the gym. We've been at it all summer. So we're ready.
I see you working on your three-pointer out there. I know you've been breaking out in preseason too. It looks nice.
Hell yeah. I wasn't trying to show too much, but definitely trying to get 2 or 3 of those a game. Really stretching the floor and making more space on the floor for all my guards to drive and put more pressure on these teams where they're not so relaxed. Understanding that they have to cover space. I'm a threat out there. DC, him as well, threats. And, protecting our paint and getting back in transition and running down their throat with our speed. It's going to be a fun season for us, and we're excited, man. We're excited, trust me. Everybody's in shape, everybody's built, everybody's worked on their game, and you can see it. The environment is different, terminology is very different. We've all ordered, everybody's experienced and know what the hell is going on around them, so, training camp been tight. Everybody has been tight. We've been beating up each other like hell, for real. It feels like the training camp when I was a rookie, you're saying, okay, then the level of competition and talent is loud in here, and you can feel it. You can hear players talking, and, coaches is to a minimum giving their instructions, but you do it so well, everything's, not even remote no more. It's just in motion.
You mentioned Donovan, and I wanted to ask you about the center rotation as well. It seems like you guys, real good group of guys, and it seems like you all kind of bring something different to it, kind of a different approach to the position. So just your thoughts on that rotation between all you guys, and just your camaraderie, I guess, too.
Yeah, it's been insane. Understanding that, he's such a big kid, but he's a winner. He's very sacrificial when it comes to his teammates, setting screens, blocking shots, and doing whatever it takes to win. And it's contagious. Whatever teams he's on, they know how to use him already, and they just know how to, just be that anchor down there on both ends of the floor. He's so young, and I respect him, man, because he tries to move. He's the fastest coach wants us to play, and this dude has just gotten the NBA, man. When I got in the NBA, it was fast as hell, and he's kept up, and he's not showed that he's a liability of, the game is moving too fast. No. Our boy's a winner. He's locked in. He knows what he wants to do, and he knows what coaches are saying. He knows what they want from him, and I think he's locked in. He's super locked into his role. As a rookie, I haven't seen that from a big man in a while, because it definitely wasn't me locked in my first year. And he's shown that he's locked in. Like, he knows what the team wants from him, and he's doing it and more.
Well, that's a good transition, too, because I wanted to ask you about...
Starts for me completely. He's loud when he talks. He's asking questions. He's not quiet, vocal. He's happy. He's smiling with everybody. He's like he's been here already. You know what I'm saying? For real.
Well, as a young center in the league, I wanted to ask you, what is it like to be a young rookie center in the NBA?
I know, right? What is it like to be a young rookie center? You feel like nobody understands how it feels, how fast this game's going. And, only you understand. And, you just have to talk to the ones that, really have your best interest in teaching you the game and listening to your coaches and watching a lot of film. Film is truly important. And once you watch film and you start to see how you look out there, good games, bad games, you got to watch everyone to see where you're at. And then you will realize the results and how you play, and everything will come to natural. And also just, mainly working on your speed, man. This league, we play every day, so you can't be eating junk food as a big man.
Yeah.
We're going to have to wake up and get our rest. So those are the key things for me on how I picked up so quickly. And just always having that mentality that you're not no regular person. Just always tell yourself in your consciousness that that you could do it. Never say you can't do it or you don't know of it. And that's what's going to carry you.
I got a lot more questions, but I want to let you go because I know you got a game tonight. And I know you're working hard here, but I did want to ask because I've been getting a lot of questions about it. The mustache, where'd it come from? And give me a little, give me a breakdown.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do this mustache and new look for a while. I even dyed my hair brown a little bit. It's a new look. I got tired of the beard, and I've always been in love with a mustache like this. I always felt like it would fit me, and this is my first time trying it. So I just wanted to, give the world a new look and see my smile. And I'm not just no big monster. I'm DA, man. I know I'm dominating, but that's only on the court and in my craft. But other than that, I'm DA. I love the kids. I love everybody. I love the smile. I love the goof off, and I just want to show people my face. Really, I just wanted to take the beard off and show my fans and show the world my face, and I'm a happy person, and show PDX I'm happy to be here. I don't want people to feel like I'm down here or wanting to bring up antennas while I'm here in my new home. I want everybody to know that no, this dude's freaking happy. I want everybody to feel that too. Even when my head's down, you can still see my dimple. You know what I'm saying, on my face, and that carries a long way and make people day, man. With that beard, I didn't feel like I was, I wasn't happy. And mental health goes a long way. Believe who you are and don't let nobody take that away from you. Just believe in everything you do, and don't let nobody discriminate you. Believe it. Fight it if you have to, goddammit. But always believe in yourself.
DA, it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, baby. My guy.
There you go, Deandre Ayton, talking about a whole host of topics. I really appreciate, the time that Deandre gave me, too. And I think Deandre does such a nice job of answering questions. He's one of those guys who, he actually listens to the question and tries to answer it. And there's a lot of guys who, you ask them a question, they just kind of revert to whatever kind of their stock answer is about things. And this is a lot of guys in the NBA. And a lot of that makes sense because, you get asked a lot of the same questions. So in some respects, it would make sense to have kind of a stock answer for some things. But sometimes guys just revert back to kind of their talking points. My guy CJ, he's in town, and he was one of those guys that kind of did that too. CJ, when you ask CJ about something, you talk about, he had like a rap of like, and I can't remember it now because it's been a few years, but I remember he always would mention hard hedges. And that was always something where I was like, that's just always the thing you say. So I really appreciate when guys actually do kind of try to think about the question a little bit and give you an answer that goes a little beyond kind of what the according to Hoyle stock answer is. And I feel like Deandre really does that. So I appreciate that. I appreciate how much Deandre always talks about his teammates and wants to be a resource for his teammates. And that's really helpful for someone covering the team as well, because sometimes you want to get a guy's opinion about somebody else, because sometimes, you need to get a different perspective. And Deandre's a great guy to go to for that. And again, I just think in a second season, a great perspective for Deandre, a second season in Portland, I should say. And I just really appreciate the time. And I think that he had some really interesting comments in there, particularly, again, about the mustache, talking about like, he wants people to see his face and know that he's happy and that he's felt like, the beard kind of covered him up a little bit. And that, again, that's it would have been easy to say like, yeah, I just want to try out a mustache. I thought it would be fun. And I'm sure that's probably part of it. But like having a real kind of thoughtful answer about the way that we present ourselves to the world, I thought was, again, a level of care and attention to the conversation that you just don't get a lot of times. So I really appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And that's going to do it for this edition of The Briefcase. Thank you so much for joining me, as always. Probably the next edition will be on the road sometime, either in Sacramento, probably more likely in Los Angeles. Second night of back-to-backs are never typically a great time to get some stuff done, even though, it's a 3 o'clock game on Sunday, then a 7 o'clock game on Mondays. So, it is back-to-back, but a little bit more time. Not the same thing as getting into town, in the middle of the night and then playing a game the next day. So, hopefully maybe something from Sacramento, if not definitely something from Los Angeles. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to The Briefcase, The Blazers Balcony, and Section 113. And that'll do it. Thank you again. I really appreciate the support. Appreciate your viewership. Appreciate your listenership. We'll talk to you soon. Go Blazers.